is 1 Peter's 4:17. For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of God?
Violence in Baja California prompting American governmental officials or employees to shelter in place there. The U.S. consulate reporting multiple vehicle fires, roadblocks, and heavy police activity in places like Tijuana and Rosarito. Now, Tijuana's mayor says that he has 2,000 police officers and 3,000 National Guard troops ready if needed. Now, Clara Benitez with our affiliate KSWB in San Diego joining us live now. Clara, what is the latest update on the situation?
Yeah, you know, many San Diegans actually who cross into Tijuana every day and every weekend actually were not even aware about this threat that was made by the cartel until after they made it across and saw those cars on fire. They saw that heavy police presence and that roadblock. And finally, last night, the U.S. consulate did issue that advisory for U.S. citizens to avoid the area. And if they are already there, will notify your friends and family of your safety.
Apparently, they pulled the man out of the truck and set the cab on fire to block the road.
Completely engulfed in flames throughout northern Baja California.
Apparently, they pulled the man out of the truck and set the cab on fire to block the road.
The Baja News newspaper reporting more than 20 vehicles throughout Tijuana, Ensenada, Rosarito, Tecate, and Mexicali set on fire by Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación.
This cartel is announcing that they're going to start doing some, attacks, under their name so they can call the attention of the government because they want some people from them to be released.
Part of the message, to stay inside.
We don't want to hurt good people, but please stay home. They say that. Stay home, and we just want the government to do what we want.
The Mexican government advising residents to stay home after the threat, and the U.S. government advising the same, telling Americans to avoid the area, and if in the area, seek secure shelter. Be aware of your surroundings, and notify friends and family of your safety.
You might hear about this, once in a great while. Whenever I come to Tijuana, I always feel safe. We go out at night. We do a lot of things in the city, and today's the first time where I don't feel safe.
And the threats come just as one of the biggest reggaeton music festivals, Beach Baja Fest, is underway in Rosarito. Organizers sending out this message, acknowledging the events and advising guests to look out for their friends and call local authorities if they see anything. In the meantime, as some San Diegans try to find a safe way home.
We're just trying to plot that out right now. I'm not quite sure what to do, and then I have to leave him behind because he's not eligible to cross the border right now, which that makes me scared.
Now, the Baja California governor actually met with all of the mayors from the Baja California northern region, which is Tijuana, Ensenada, Rosarito, Mexicali. They also even mentioned that they spoke to the Mexican president about this situation. They ended up sending Mexican National Guards for reinforcement here. Natasha?
Well, Clara, can you provide some context? What sparked this sudden surge of violence there?
Well, like we mentioned, these cartels essentially want to retaliate because Mexican officials have some of its members that want them to be released. Now, again, some of these acts of violence have already happened in other cities in Mexico this month.
All right, Clara Benitez live for us in San Diego. Thank you so much.
A week of attacks across Mexico. Dozens of stores, cars, buses, and trucks set on fire. Chaos erupting among the public and images of the destruction going viral. Today, federal authorities calling it a propaganda by criminal organizations attempting to assert their power. They say it's all in response to recent successful military operations detaining cartel members and securing weapons, vehicles, and drugs. But the city remains on edge. In the city of Tijuana and its surroundings, authorities say at least 24 vehicles were set on fire Friday night. Public transportation coming to a halt with drivers too scared to operate.
I see they take off the people from the bus and they throw the gas in the bus and burning. I feel unsafe too, yeah.
The U.S. consulate asking Americans to shelter in place or avoid crossing into Mexico from California, but for some Americans, it came too late. Many were attending a professional soccer match and the Baja Beach Music Festival, where some chose to stay despite the nearby violence.
It's just uncertainty that you just don't know what can happen. Like, you don't know, like, because, you know, they're advising everyone to stay indoors, but it's like, we're going to a festival, you know?
Authorities say the same type of fires and roadblocks took place in Jalisco and Guanajuato days before. Today, members of the president's cabinet informed 36 people have been arrested across the country directly linked to the violence, including the fires and roadblocks. Government officials have identified at least 3 of them as members of the new generation Jalisco cartel. Meanwhile, over the weekend, 300 members of the military's special forces arrived in Tijuana to join the efforts by police and National Guard attempting to maintain the peace in the streets.
Se ve cerca, pero no está tan cerca. Ya explotó aparte. Explotaron las llantas hace rato. Pero literal no nos dejan avanzar. Nada más podemos salir por aquí y está todo atascado, pero ya llegó el bombero, las bomberas. O los bomberos, no sé cómo se diga. Diosito, ayuda.
Parejas al 2020 aquí en el Boulevard Salinas y Nova Sport. Ahí para 10-4.
¡Rájale macizo, mijo, la verga! Mira, se robaron hasta patrulla de guachos. Están unos cabrones aquí en el puro malecón. Mira. A la verga. A tu madre, parando tráfico, tirándole a todos.
Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakal Kardash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect who are the house of David reborn again in this generation. And shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as and still are the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the trouble down south and how Issachar are being visited by the Lord. Right? Issachar being the biblical name for the so-called Mexicans. Right? That would, be the tribe that I myself am from. Right? But I stay up here in California. But nonetheless, I have family and even a house, not my house, but a family house down there. So, all those places that were in those videos are familiar to me, right? But, this is simply the Lord bringing judgment, down on his own house, as it told you in the scriptures. Let's go ahead and reread that. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God, right? And what is the house of God? Well, that house of God would be the descendants of Jacob, right? Who the Lord renamed to Israel. And when you get into the breakdown of his 12 sons, which come from his 12 wives, right? These would be the modern day names for them, okay? So when you get into Issachar, like I said, they would be today's modern day so-called Mexicans, okay? And again, you could pause this video, you could go through this chart, but for the most part, it's the 12 tribes chart that the apostles have been, preaching ever since, it was brought out by High Priest Arya when he was given the divine revelation of the tribes, okay? And when they went into the teachings and learnings of it, these are who the 12 tribes are today by prophecy, okay? By prophecy and their birthright, which you can read about in Genesis, right? When Jacob is passing away and he blesses the 2 sons of Joseph along with the 12 tribes, or his 12 sons, right? Well, as you've seen in the videos that I just showed you, Mexico is under a seditious, attack by its own people. Okay, the government of Mexico is experiencing an uprising of the people. Okay, now it's not from all the people, but it's from Mexican citizens nonetheless. Now they just happen to be part of the drug cartel, but again, it's because the people are not paying attention or no longer regarding their nobles, right? Now it's always been, to some degree of sedition in Mexico, where you always had the cartels, standing up against the government. But again, this is an unprecedented amount of violence and spectacle that the cartel has been pushing. Okay, but this is all prophecy. Let's go ahead and read about it here in the Bible, right? This is 2 Ezra 15 and 16. For there shall be sedition, right, coming up against government, amongst men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Didn't we just see videos of massive, traffic jams and people waiting on freeways with miles of headlights, right? Just waiting to get into the city, but they can't. And why not? For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And men shall have no pity on his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, right? The modern day sword would be your guns, right? In that little short YouTube short, we heard all the gunfires. In fact, you even seen a high-powered sniper rifle being used by I would only I would assume it was a police, but who knows? It might have been a cartel member, right? And spoil their goods because the lack of bread and great tribulation. Now, right? See, this great tribulation is what's happening here, particularly, and the lack of bread is ultimately what's going to come. Mark my words, and the words of the Bible, right? Because again, the Bible has never been wrong. And again, these are prophecies or warnings that are put in the Bible to warn us about, the times to come, which we are now living through. And I just read 1 Peter 4 and 17. This is the next verse. And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and sinner appear? Right? And let's look up that word scarcely. Only just, almost not. Right? Only a very short time before, right? So you see, if us here who are preaching what the Lord has written in the Bible, telling our people what, what the Lord requires of them, doing what the Lord has commanded us to do, if we're scarcely going to be saved, Lord willing, we're part of this righteous that is spoken about here. What about all these other, people, right? These people who are just living their everyday, earthly lives, who have, no concept of truth, right? They're worshiping their white Jesus, their Virgin Guadalupe, and all the idols that they believe are righteous, or even, worst case scenario, they're atheists, or they're, straight up Satanists, right? What then with them, right? Where shall the sinner appear? Wherefore, let them that suffer according to the will of God commit the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing as unto a faithful creator, right? So there you go, right? So the Lord is saying, let them suffer while the righteous, basically, do the right things and basically do with their soul the righteous things which the Lord commanded us to, man. So these people, man, they got no hope, man. As people say here, man, they're simply going to be a fart in the wind, right? They're basically just going to see all these calamities. They're going to see, because you see all this shootings and violences that are going on right here in Mexico, man. Right now it just seems like it's, burning cars and, stalled traffic. But what is that going to lead to? Well, like in some of these other, news articles, people are not buying, right? People are not going out. That concert that was going on, right? That is going to be probably the last outdoor concert that's going to take place for a very long time, right? In fact, it might be one of the last live events that brings in such a big crowd. And why is that? Well, there's a prophecy in the Bible. James 4:9. Be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to heaviness, right? And that's what the Lord is ultimately doing right now in the world, right? He is, for the most part, making all these gatherings. Why do you think there's all these shootings? Why do you think people, like, for example, that over in China, man, people were, probably having a nice time shopping at IKEA, and all of a sudden that got turned into a nightmare, man. You had people trying to escape, rush out because they were trying to lock IKEA down because somebody tested positive for COVID. You see, the Lord, he is turning the laughter of the world into mourning, right? And he's changing the joy of people into heaviness, right? Because you see, you could only ignore this truth for so long, right? What's the famous saying that the brothers always would say, right? You could ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of reality, right? Because you see, the thing is, man, is there's a lot of our people who don't want to know about this truth, don't want to know about what's going on in the news. They just want to go along to get along. They want to just live their lives and, do them, right? And just basically, what's the term? No negative vibes. Well, the thing is pretty soon it's going to be nothing but negative vibes, right? And when that happens, these people are going to be basically, caught with their pants down. They're going to have no way to cope with what's been coming. Unlike you Akim and Akwathium out there who have been watching these videos, preparing your soul, preparing to do the things that are required of you, which are, commanded by the Lord, right? As it tells you here, this is Acts 17:30. And the times of this ignorance God winked at, but now commandeth all men everywhere to repent, even in Mexico, right? All around the world. Verse 31, because he hath appointed a day in the which he will judge the world in righteousness, but by that man who he hath ordained, whereof he hath given assurance unto all men, and that he hath raised him from the dead. And that's talking about Yahweh Shai, which is the true Hebrew name for the one who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right? That's Yahweh Shai is Hebrew for he is salvation, right? He delivers, okay? So you see, so the Lord will eventually, fairly soon judge the entire world, right? But what needs to happen? Well, this truth has to be pushed out to all four corners of the world, which, the apostles already believe it has been done. I myself also believe it's been done, right? And this is why everything is moving so quickly, right? The only next two big prophecies that need to play out is the MOTB, which is, look at Biden just sign that executive order, bring forward those Biden bucks. So by December, basically the digital dollar will be here, right? And then after that, they're going to basically start pushing it out to the economy. And starting, I'm sure in 2023, you're going to start seeing all these digital Dollars being accepted everywhere. It's going to be a big news at first, and for the most part, they're going to push it into society. And there's going to be an app. I think it's called like Federal Now or something like that you're going to have to download to your phone. And this is where they're going to send your UBI payments, your universal basic income, because again, we're on the verge of this economy collapsing, right? Fairly soon. And this is another reason why they push forward this whole, guerrilla pox, man. Because the thing is on time when they're about to announce the stock market, numbers, right? And basically the GDP numbers for the United States, which are basically going to make everybody, lose their shit and the economy collapse. What have they done? They brought out all these different pandemics, so that way they could blame them and they could say, oh, it was because of this is why this happened. And you see, we're sliding down a slide to the end of the world, right? And a lot of these people don't even understand what's going on. They're thinking the cartel just is having a bad week. As you heard that those newscasters say, the cartel is simply just trying to get attention because other cartel members were arrested. That may be what's happening on the surface, but on a deeper level, the Lord is visiting the house of God, right? He's visiting his house and his people, right? And again, unless you repent and you have the Lord on your side, don't expect to pass through this fire of adversity that he's bringing upon the earth, right? So hopefully this video was edifying. I'll keep till the next time. I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Rakak, Radash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of the Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.